Welcome to our first episode of Brews Boxing. I'm Raider Live, and with me is Filthy Rich. Filthy Rich, how you doing, buddy?
What's up, man? Thanks for doing this.
I can't wait. I'm excited. I've been waiting to get this show going for a while here. So we got a format. Here's our format. We're going to have 4 rounds of questions, categories, all sorts of stuff. We're going to have that every week. We're going to have what's called Brews and News, the Filthy 5, the 13th round, and the Filthy Fan Question of the Week. You ready there, Richie?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right, let's get it started with Brews and News. And Richie, at Brews and News, you know what we got to do. We got to pop a brew. Cheers, brother.
Thanks, man.
All right. Brews and News we're talking about this week. Fury and Wilder got pushed back because of the coronavirus, the third fight of that. Richie, I want to ask you, who does that delay help the most?
It probably helps. Doesn't need to help, but it helps Tyson Fury. I think it makes Deontay Wilder that much older. And if I may for a second here, I think you would agree with me on this. We don't need to see a third fight between these two. And I think I would personally, I'd rather see Wilder and Ortiz part 3. I think that would be a good fight.
That'd be a good fight. I'd like to see Fury Joshua. I'd like to see that. That'd be the fight I want to see. But, you know, this one's going to get pushed back. I actually think the delay helps Wilder out a little bit and maybe settles him down. Maybe he can learn how to box in this time. Maybe he can change his strategy like Fury did this last time. I don't think it's going to matter. I think Fury knocks him out again anyway. I think Fury's just too much of a fighter for Wilder. But that's just my opinion. What do you think on that?
I mean, I tend to agree. I think Wilder needs more time to polish himself up, but with more time comes age, and I think he's only getting older. He's not at the end of his career, but I don't know how much more of a career he has left. I think Tyson Fury is a guy that stays in shape for fun. I don't think he does this. I mean, the guy donates all of his money anyways. I think he's just going to toy with them. Longer gets delayed. Again, I think it's in Tyson Fury's favor because he's still the younger fighter. Deontay Wilder, I can see him taking advantage of the time off and, you know, polishing his skills. I understand where you're coming from. I don't think there's a wrong answer here. I think hopefully it makes for a better fight, but.
Well, question, you think Fury's going to keep that weight on for the third fight for that entire time? Like he did this last time? I mean, how much weight did he put on? It was like 40 pounds or something like that?
Well, yeah, I thought he weighed at 270. Maybe It was less than that, maybe 260. But the strategy going in, according to my sources, which I have no sources, but the strategy I heard going into this fight was to lean on Wilder, to hold Wilder, wear him down with all that body weight.
Mm-hmm.
And that seemed to do the trick, even if Wilder has this idea that it was the heavy armory, the 40 pounds of weights he was walking to the ring, that's what weighed him down. That may be true, but Tyson Fury put on weight to lean on Wilder. That had to have done a number on him as well.
Well, does Wilder change his strategy then and maybe just work all on cardio in this time, and that the more time off gives him more time to work on his cardio? Or maybe he puts on a bunch of weight to try to match Fury weight for weight so that weight issue of leaning on him is not as big a deal.
Yeah, I don't think putting on weight for Wilder does him any favors. I think he needs to stay at his fighting weight, stay at the weight where you've been knocking people out with that heavy right hand.
Right.
Do what you were doing. I don't think you're beating Tyson Fury. Again, I'd rather see Wilder and Ortiz part 3. I think Fury can move on. We all know there's a big money fight with Anthony Joshua. I don't know why he's taking – I mean, there was the rematch clause to sign for part 2, so I get why this fight has to happen. But let's get this over with, and let's move on to a bigger fight with Anthony Joshua.
Well, sadly, we can't get it on because, you know, they're delaying. That's the whole thing is they're delaying it. And I wish the delay, they would take the delay and say, you know, the public just doesn't want this fight. We're waiting this long. If we had a quick rematch, maybe. we need to have the actual fight of Joshua and Fury. That's the fight we all need to see. And if you push back Fury Wilder 3, then you're pushing back Fury and Joshua again. And when you're going to have that? You're going to have that next summer? I mean, yeah, they're both kind of young, but still, I mean, a lot of things can happen in that time. I mean, look what happened. The super fight used to be Joshua versus Wilder, and now that doesn't look like a fight that's even mildly interesting anymore.
Well, even the Fury and Joshua was supposed to be a super fight. I think what should have sort of happened in theory was the winner of this Wilder Fury fight went on to fight Joshua.
Right.
Not to say anything was ruined or anything, but when Joshua lost to Ruiz, I think the dollars may have not been there.
Right.
Truth is, the dollars were going to be there, but I think the public is tricked into believing that that's no longer a big fight because there's a loss on Joshua's resume.
Well, the fact that Joshua came back and won in convincing fashion, though, I think he kind of, almost the Apollo Creed thing where he kind of wanted to prove it was a fluke. He came in a place he's never fought before against a guy he didn't really know, and Ortiz just caught him off guard. Basically, he was smart in the strategy of that fight. He came in. You and me have talked about it before. He's got some of the fastest hands we've seen in a heavyweight.
I think you meant Ruiz. I think you said Ortiz.
Did I say Ruiz? I meant Ruiz. Did I say Ortiz? Yeah, I'm sorry. Good catch.
Yeah. And again, Ruiz was a replacement fighter.
Right.
I don't want to dive too deep into the history, but I feel like anytime there's a last minute replacement fighter, you never know what's going to happen. I don't know where, and Vegas doesn't have all the answers. I don't know where Vegas was swinging that fight, but I guarantee you anytime that there is a replacement fighter in any fight, all bets are off. You never know who people are training for. And had Joshua playing for Ruiz that whole time instead of, I think it was Miller, Big Baby Miller, I think he would have beat Big Baby Miller, and I think he would have beat Ruiz had he been training 3-4 months for that fight.
Not only that, but coming in as a replacement fighter, you have nothing to lose. You come in there, you're swinging for the fences. You have a strategy that they have no idea. They're not preparing for you. Joshua's not sparring guys that were like Ortiz or Ruiz. I'm saying I did it again. They're too close in names. He wasn't sparring guys like Ruiz. Ruiz and Big Baby Joshua are two totally different fighters. Big Baby Big Baby
Miller.
Big Baby, I said it again. Big Baby, I keep mixing up the last names, but you know what I'm talking about. Big Baby Miller is not the same kind of fighter as Ruiz is.
Right. I think they're the same in stature, body weight, shape, size, height, all that other good stuff.
Not speed.
Again, you didn't plan for Ruiz.
Right.
But even going back to the original question, who does this favor? Who does this long delay favor? There is no wrong answer. Just a matter of opinion. So don't troll me, haters. Do I have haters yet? No, keep going.
Not yet. Maybe you'll get up to that Stephen A. Smith level of haters someday, but we're just starting out with our first show here. All right, let's move on to the Filthy Five. The Filthy Five is where we take a category, a weight class, and we give our personal top 5 in that weight class. And if we agree on the number 1, we name them the Filthy Champion. If we don't agree, if it's not 100%, there's no champion. It's a vacant championship, right?
I like that. I like it. I dig it.
Because what do we say about championships, Filthy Rich?
The belts, the alphabet titles, they really don't mean anything. Even Ring Magazine has lost its prestige since De La Hoya took them over some years ago.
The only championship that matters is the Filthy Championship.
Our championship matters, and we'll figure that out as time goes by.
Well, let's start with our Filthy Five. We decided this week, since we're talking about Fury Wilder anyway, that we just start off with heavyweights. And we got our top 5. Rich, you want to start with your number 5 fighter?
You're going to love this one. Oh, you will love this one. Number 5, I have Deontay Wilder at number 5. He's obviously lost to Tyson Fury as of late, and he lost to Tyson Fury before that. And he didn't look that impressive against Luis Ortiz. I thought Ortiz won those 7 rounds, and at the very end of that 7th round, Ortiz caught one from Wilder to end the fight. but I don't think Wilder's looked impressive at all. He's just in there. He's hoping to land that big one, and I think fighters have figured him out.
Yeah, he's definitely exposed. Yeah, he's just the swing for the fences. And I think we talked before that we both felt like the referee stopped that fight too fast. The Ortiz Wilder fight should have gave him more time to be able to, gather himself.
The
Like,
first fight.
yeah, the first fight, because Fury got up on the count of 9 in that fight against Wilder in the last round there. And it looked like his head was going to be in the third row. I mean, after that punch, I mean, it was a nasty looking punch. You got to give him the full 10 to try to get up. But Wilder definitely is a one-trick pony, in my opinion, and I agree that he dropped down. But at number 5, I have Andy Ruiz Jr. And I like Ruiz. I do. He's in my top 5. He's got really fast hands. But I think that last fight with Joshua kind of really exposed him as kind of a one-trick wonder, a flash in the pan kind of fighter. He's got to win a couple more fights now. I don't think he can beat anyone in my top 5 right now. But I did not like how he prepared for the rematch with Joshua. I felt like he came into that fight, like underprepared, didn't have any prepared or any game plan. It really looked like he was just going to go in there and run him over like he did the first fight. And it's Joshua, to his credit, he can change. He changed his entire game plan. It was a boring fight, I thought, but Joshua did what it took to win. So I got Ruiz at number 5. You got any comments on that?
Well, I would say it's a good number 5. I know his only loss at that time was to Joseph Parker. I believe it was Joseph Parker, who's a very good fighter, who I would love to put in my top 5. No spoiler alerts here, but I think I don't think Ruiz is some flash in the pan. I think he fought Joshua. Let's put things in perspective here. He's not fighting some slouch. Joshua is a real legitimate fighter, a bona fide heavyweight, gold medal super heavyweight. Let's not take any credit away from any of these two guys. I think Ruiz is a good number 5.
Yeah, I flash in the pan was probably a wrong term that I used there, but I just don't think he can beat anyone in my top 5. But saying from where he was to be the number 5 heavyweight, that's a big. You have to be a pretty good fighter to be considered the 5th heavyweight. So I'm not trying to take anything away from him. Flash in the pan was kind of probably the wrong word, but it was like I don't think he's a true contender for the top 1 or 2 spots.
No, I get it. And I think you are the voice of America. You are the voice of the world. And I think people would say he was a flash in the pan, and the truth is he's not. I know that was just maybe you misspeaking, but I know you didn't mean that. But I can see the critics who really don't know much, and to say I know everything, but I can see the critics saying, oh, he was just a one-trick pony. He's not. He's a real legitimate heavyweight, and I think he's a good number 5 heavyweight for you.
He's got some really good fast hands, too. Really fast hands. I like that. Well, I'll go with my number 4 this time since you went first last time. My number 4 might shock people, too. My number 4 is Deontay Wilder. I mean, you have him at 5. I got him at 4. He's got the knockout power of anyone. He's, Mike Tyson style knockout power. But that's all he's got right now. And I don't think he can beat anyone in my top 3. I think Fury really exposed him for the fighter he was, or fighter that he is. I don't think his conditioning is that good. I don't think he can last long fights and keep going if it doesn't go to his game plan, which is basically stand back and throw haymakers and hopefully connect on one at some point. I agree he lost 7 rounds in that Ortiz fight. Yeah, that's who I got as my number 4.
So I like your number 4. Obviously, I have him at number 5. I actually think Ruiz and Wilder would make a pretty good fight, and I'm pretty sure Al Heyman can make that happen. They're both under the PBC banner. Let's see that. Both coming off of losses. Let's see who can move forward with their career.
That'd be a good fight to watch. I kind of take Wilder in that fight just because I don't think Ruiz has the style. Or he's got the fast hands, but I see him trying to throw hands with him. And if you're going to throw hands with Wilder, I think Wilder's going to knock him out.
Yeah, again, I could see Ruiz winning a bunch of rounds and then Wilder swinging for the fences, and that's all she wrote. I get it. I'm not a Vegas guy, but I'd like to see what the odds are in Vegas.
Right.
But
That'd be a good fight. Let's make that fight happen. Get on the phone to Al Heyman, would you, and get that fight going there?
let's do it. Let's see what we can do here. My number 4, I got Luis Ortiz at number 4. Yeah, the guy who lost twice to Deontay Wilder. What am I thinking putting him at number 4? But again, I thought he won 7 rounds in that last fight. I don't think the Cuban southpaw gold medalist has any flaws in his game. I think even in the first Deontay Wilder fight, he had him on the ropes. We're like, what was it, round 7, 8, something like that. And again, it was a close fight. I had Ortiz winning the first fight, but he caught one. The ref jumped in there, stopped it, I thought, a bit early. I think for any heavyweight championship of the world, I don't think people really realize this is the heavyweight championship of the world. You got to knock the guy out, a 10 count. I don't want, if I'm about to knock somebody out, which I'll probably never knock anyone out, but I want them down for 10. I don't want the ref jumping in saying, oh, the fight's over, the fight's over. No, I want a solid 10 count to prove all the doubters wrong. Again, I have Luis Ortiz, number 4. I think he's better than Wilder. I think he's a solid number 4 guy.
Just to jump on that point real fast, I agree with that. I mean, I understand protecting boxers, but giving them a 10 count, they're not going to be in any worse shape in 10 seconds than they are in if you give them a 3 count when they're on the ground, And Wilder, when he hits somebody and he knocks them down, when he usually does, it's one of them Sports Center highlight punches where he connects, and it looks a lot nastier than it is. But these guys are professional fighters fighting for the heavyweight championship of the world. They can take a punch like that and recover themselves in that 10-second time and should be given the chance to do so. I agree with you 100%. Who do you got as your number 3 there, Rich?
My number 3 guy, Dillian White, is my number 3 fighter.
Love it.
But for starters, I think he's got the boxing skills. He's a big dude. The one thing I don't like is the failed drug test. I never liked the fail. Ortiz had a failed drug test. I don't like that part, but I think he's a skilled, polished fighter. I think he beats number 4 and number 5, Ortiz and Wilder. I think his only loss was to Anthony Joshua. That's a pretty good resume, if you ask me. I think he's a good number 3 fighter with I think he beats Ruiz and whoever else I don't have on this list.
You have him beating Wilder too, right?
I think he could beat Wilder and Ortiz. Yes.
At my number 3, I agree with you. I got Dillian White as well. He is a beast. The drug test thing, yeah, that sucks, but he is really fun to watch. He passes the eye test of a guy that's fun to watch. I think I like his fights. He's going to be rising up the charts. I think just because my top 2, I think he can beat everyone else in my top 5. I think he beats Wilder. I think he beats Ruiz. I think he can beat Ortiz. I think he can. I mean, he's a great fighter. He doesn't get the publicity as much. He's not like one of the big names. He's not the Joshuas. He's not the Wilders. Not the Furies. He's kind of that second tier, but he shouldn't be. He's trying to break into that. He needs to get he needs to have a big fight. He's going to fight Alexander Povetkin, I think. I don't even know anything about him. And that's a nothing fight to me. I mean, I don't know. Do you know anything about him?
Well, Povetkin, I believe his only loss was to Joshua, and Deontay Wilder went over to Russia to fight Povetkin, and that's when Povetkin failed a drug test.
Right. Okay, I remember who that is now. Yeah,
I think Povetkin is over the hill. Maybe he's overrated. Mm-hmm. I think Dillian White beats Povetkin. I think that's fair.
Yeah. Povetkin's record is 35-2-1. He just had a draw against Michael Hunter in December. I didn't remember him until you brought that up. I haven't watched him fight that much, so I don't know. But it seems like White needs to fight somebody like a Wilder to get into that upper echelon where people are going to start considering him a real contender. I think he's a real contender right now.
Well, we're in America too. We're kind of hidden from that part of the world, but I think he's still a big star across the sea.
Mm,
And again, someone gets one loss on their record. I think this industry makes them seem like their career's over, but that's not the case. You can be a good fighter and have a loss on your record.
I agree. All right, whose turn is it to go? Number two. You want to go first as your number two,
Sure,
or
should I hit you with number two?
all right? Hit me with your number two
All
here.
right, number two. Um, this probably isn't going to be a shock with all the talking I've been doing, but I have Tyson Fury at number two. I know he's the lineal champ. I know he beat the man who beat the man, who was Vladdy Klitschko. He beat Deontay Wilder, but I'll be just straight honest with you. I don't think beating an old Klitschko is that impressive. Klitschko's reign had to come to an end at some time. I think Klitschko was afraid of Tyson Fury. I felt like he ducked Tyson Fury. Not to say I don't want to say anyone faked any injuries, but he hurt his leg getting off an airplane, and all of a sudden the fight's called off. I don't know. I think he stepped into that. I think Klitschko stepped into the Tyson Fury fight afraid to begin with. So you beat a 40-year-old Klitschko. That's fantastic. You beat Wilder, who hasn't beaten anyone. I mean, the man at the time was like 40-0 with, I think he beat Ortiz twice, but no other bodies on his resume. Dominic Brazil, that's whatever you want. Arthur Splitka, come on, let's be real here. The combined opponent, in the NFL, where they look at the combined record of your opponent is this and this. His opponent's record is nothing. I think Tyson Fury is a fair number two, because I do think he still beats all the guys I've mentioned before.
So you're saying the problem with Fury is the strength of schedule is what you're saying. It's strength of schedule is what
You nailed it, man. You nailed it. That is it.
Hey, and it's fair. It's fair. My number two, I'm going to have to disagree with you, but friendly disagree with you. I got Anthony Joshua at number two, and I'll explain why. Anthony Joshua is a hell of a fighter, first off. I can't wait to see him fight Fury. That's the fight I want to see. I think America wants to see that fight. Everyone wants to see him fight Fury. But the knocks on Joshua, up until he beat Ruiz in Saudi Arabia, he had never won outside the UK. He's never even fought outside the UK except when he fought Ruiz, and he took that fight a little too lightly. I think we talked about a little bit, but he showed how good a champion he is, that he adjusted, had a really boring fight, but he won. He won, and he won outside the UK too. They fought in Saudi Arabia. He's a great fighter. I just don't see him beating Fury. It's going to be a good fight regardless. It's going to be a great fight. The Joshua Wilder, that doesn't do anything for me anymore like it used to. And I really think they need to just have this Fury Joshua fight instead of having the Fury Wilder fight. I wouldn't mind watching Joshua fight White either. I mean, that'd be a good fight to watch too. But I got Anthony Joshua as my number two. So that means I have a sneaky feeling that we're not going to have a champion for the heavyweights, a filthy champion. It's going to be in dispute. Because who do you got as your number one, Rich?
Well, before I unveil my number one heavyweight in the Filthy Five rankings, the inaugural Filthy Five rankings, I do want to say that Dillian White wants to fight Anthony Joshua. He wants to avenge that loss. So that fight could very well happen. That might be who's next for Anthony Joshua. What did I just say? My number one fighter? Anthony Joshua is my number one guy. I think his resume, top to bottom, is unmatched. I don't think anyone has the resume Anthony Joshua has. His one loss, and let's not overhype these losses, but it was a replacement fighter. I believe it was Big Baby Miller was supposed to get in the ring and broke his wrist with a couple weeks to go. I don't think anyone can just step into the ring with preparing for one guy and then getting someone else. Meanwhile, if Andy Ruiz was in place for this fight, Ruiz is training to fight either one of these guys. He was ready to go. He's been boxing since he was like 4 or 5 years old, where Joshua has only been boxing since he was 16. I think Joshua deserves to be the champion, the inaugural, the consensus number one. I'll just jump in quickly. I do think if he and Tyson Fury were to go head to head, I think Tyson Fury could beat him. But right now, that's dealing in hypotheticals and dealing in theory. And really, my personal opinion, Joshua has the better resume than Tyson Fury.
And absolutely, that's fair. That is 1,000% fair, and I agree with every
Of
point you
course,
made.
it's fair. Of
But
course, it's fair.
but my number one is going to be Tyson Fury. He is the champ. You said, he beat the man, beat the man, beat the man. But as Ric Flair said, to be the man, you have to beat the man, and he did beat the man. He beat Wilder. He beat him twice, in my opinion. I
Yeah.
think he beat him twice, and I think he deserves to be the top spot until somebody beats him. Joshua against him is going to be one heck of a fight. It's going to be one heck of a fight. I still give the edge to Fury a little bit. I think it's going to be another one of them where Vegas is going to have it as a pick 'em. You're not going to have. I'd be very curious to see where this fight is. Um,
The UK, Wembley Stadium.
You think see, I'd be curious to see if they fight in Vegas, I think Fury's going to win that fight hands down. For some reason, I just don't think Joshua travels well. And maybe it's just because he doesn't do it, but because he doesn't do it makes me wonder why he doesn't do it. And if you're going to be the world champion, travel around the world and beat everybody. Fury, I think he can win anywhere. He can win a fight on the moon if he wanted to. But if Joshua has it in the UK, Joshua has a distinct advantage there. I think he's more comfortable at home. But right now, as I say, it's close, but we're going to have a disputed championship right now with our first Filthy Five because I got Fury as my number one.
Don't forget that where Joshua calls home, Tyson Fury also calls home.
I
And
understand that.
they love Tyson Fury over in the UK. All the money he donates from every fight. I mean, I know he doesn't live out of his car, but you'd swear the guy is just like some poor scrub on the streets. And then you find out, well, he's 6'9". That's got to be Tyson Fury. The guy gives away all of his winnings. He's going to be a hero no matter where he walks on this earth.
Right. And I know that Fury is from there as well, but I think Fury actually travels better. That's why I think if they're fighting in Vegas, Fury has a more distinct advantage because he travels better. I think you're right. They'll probably have it in the UK. And I think that actually does help Joshua, even though Fury's probably going to be the hometown hero there. I mean, he's a hell of a person. I mean, let's just put it hands down. He's a great ambassador for the sport, except that he's a nut. I mean, he's crazy as a loon. But, all the charity work he does, he's a great champion to have. And that'd be a great fight to have. And you're right. They're probably going to have it in Wembley Stadium just because they probably have the biggest gate they've ever had there, but
it's going to be a record number. It's going to be the biggest fight dollar-wise in the history of the sport. And there's no question about that. The pay-per-view buys on this thing, the ticket sales for this thing, this will bring, obviously with inflation and stuff, we might have to dispute it, but throwing away the inflation numbers, this is going to be the highest revenue fight in the history of the sport. It's got to happen rather sooner than later, but don't be surprised the way things work. They push it off and push it off and push it off.
I agree. All right, that was our first edition of the Filthy Five. Richie, sorry we don't have a champion. We don't have a filthy champion this week.
Doesn't matter. I killed it. I killed it.
Heads up,
Yeah,
you did kill it. We at least agree that Dillian White is the number 3 heavyweight in the world.
Oh, there we go. We're going to be Dillian White buddies from here on out.
All right, that's it for the Filthy Five. All right, we're going to move on to the next round, which we call the 13th round, Richie. The 13th round starts now. Probably shouldn't hit that bell first because then explain what it is. The 13th round is where we go outside of boxing, the post game a little bit, and we talk about any kind of topic that we want to talk about that week. We agreed this week that we both love football. So we're going to talk a little football because that's the only sport that has any news going on right now besides boxing, but no one's fighting right now, sadly. So we're going to talk a little football, just a little bit here. I know you're boxing fans out there, but we're also football fans too. If you're a sporting fan, you're probably a sporting fan as well. So the question we have in the 13th round this week is, there's been a lot of quarterback movement, Richie, around the NFL. A lot of quarterbacks with new teams that have never been there. And I want to know which quarterback on the move is going to have the biggest impact on his new team.
The first, the I don't have all the answers. The first name that comes to mind is obviously Tom Brady going to TB12 going to TB. What a surprise there. I think they already have a good team. They have all the pieces around them. Looks like Ndamukong Suh wants to re-sign or sign there, something like that. Cam Newton's on the move. If he reunites in Washington with Rivera, that could be a big deal. Phillip Rivers left Los Angeles. He may go to Los Angeles. Right now, it's Tom Brady. I know where he is. He doesn't have to do anything. He can do what he's been doing the last couple of years, just dink and dunk, have a strong defense, strong run game. You'll do fine. I think he's not in like the strongest division either. I would still look out for Drew Brees in that division. But right now, as far as quarterbacks on the move, Tom Brady, I believe, is the answer.
Tom Brady is probably the answer. And I'm going to probably agree with you just because Tom Brady's not going to throw 30 interceptions like Jameis Winston did. He's just not going to. He takes care of the ball a lot better. But I will play devil's advocate, and I'll just name another one off of it. But Tom Brady is getting old a little bit, and that is probably the toughest division in football. You got some great quarterbacks in that division, and you got Teddy Two Gloves now playing in Carolina. You got Drew Brees in New Orleans, and you got Matt Ryan still in the Falcons, and they just signed what's his name out of Todd Gurley. So now they have a running back, So that's going to be one of the toughest divisions of football. I'm going to say Teddy Bridgewater is going to be my impact one. I'll tell you why. 5-0 with the Saints last year. He's healthy. I like Teddy Bridgewater. I've always liked Teddy. I didn't think he was as good a fit in the Viking system as he was. I think he's a better fit in the New Orleans system where they base their run game off the pass. They have a lot of running backs that catch the ball. When he was here, we didn't. We were feeding the ball.
But will he be a good system? Will he be a good fit in this Carolina system?
Here's why I think he will, because he's going to have Christian McCaffrey there who catches the ball. He's just the utility player of the year. You can do anything with Christian McCaffrey. He's going to touch the ball 40 times a game, and he makes things happen. That's the kind of running back you need paired with Teddy Bridgewater. He had success in New Orleans when he had that kind of system. He didn't have as much success in Minnesota when he had that kind of system. So I think having that kind of pass-catching running back behind him in the NFL is more important to him than having even good receivers on the outside.
So let's do this. You are the GM of your favorite team. Who do you want on your team? Tom Brady or Teddy Bridgewater? Right now, a 40-something-year-old Tom Brady or a 30-something-year-old Teddy Bridgewater? Who you got?
I don't even know if Teddy's that old, is he? I think he's probably around 30.
In his 20s?
Yeah, he might be late 20s because well, I don't know how long he's been around, but I feel like he's got more time in his career because he had them couple years off due to injury, that didn't have beat up on his body. You give me, if we're talking long term, you're taking Teddy, obviously.
Yeah.
If you're trying to win a Super Bowl one time this year, you gotta go with TB12. I mean, he's done it. He's got more rings than anyone. He's the GOAT. I mean, if you're trying to win a Super Bowl, you bring the GOAT.
I get carried away with this GOAT nonsense.
We've had that argument. That'll be an argument for another 13th round. I think we touched on that enough. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. And both of our quarterbacks are in that same division, so we'll be kind of curious to see how that works out. I'm excited for it.
I'm not a Tom Brady homer at all. I think Drew Brees wins that division. He's been there. He's done that. He's got the coach chemistry thing going for him. But I would take I think Tom Brady at the end of the season, or I should say the Buccaneers will have a better record than the Panthers.
All right. Well, you've heard it here first. We have it on the internet, so we'll find out. Hopefully, we're still doing shows at that time. You can rub it in my face, or vice versa. That was the 13th round. All right, our fourth round is what we call the Filthy Fan Question of the Week, where you fans ask a question of Filthy Rich, and he answers the questions directly from the fans. So let's start. Filthy Fan Question of the Week. Filthy Rich, our Filthy Fan Question of the Week comes from Matt from Lindstrom, and he wants to know, does Billy Joe Saunders pose any threat for Canelo Alvarez?
The answer is yes. Saunders poses a threat for Canelo. Let's say this fight's at 168. Problem I have with this is if it goes 12 rounds, Canelo wins. Do I think Saunders can knock out Canelo? I don't think so. I think Canelo can knock out Saunders, but you still have to catch Saunders. Saunders has become a more disciplined fighter since that close decision over Eubank Jr. a few years ago. I think he's taken this seriously outside of that incident. I think he got arrested for. I don't even want to get into it, but we know what he got arrested for. It was not okay. But that doesn't mean he doesn't take boxing seriously. I think the last I saw Saunders, I think he could run circles around Canelo. I think Saunders at 168 might be the best there. I think he could beat is it Callum Smith? I think he could beat Callum Smith at 168. I think he's the king in that division. Canelo will move forward and do his thing that he does. And in Vegas, where people can be bought off in a heartbeat, he can win a decision. But you and I and everyone at home will just run to our phones and complain about how Canelo and Golden Boy are screwing the sport over. We all know that Saunders won. Just like we know Canelo, he loses all his fights, but he has enough money to buy the wins. That's my opinion on does he pose a threat? Yes, he does. Will he win the fight? Probably not.
That's fair. I mean, you know how I feel about Canelo. I felt like he lost both fights to Triple G. I mean, I'm not just wearing the shirt, but I felt like he lost both fights to Triple G. One of them you can call definitely was closer to a draw, but I don't think Triple G lost both those fights. It'll be very interesting to see if they bring Adelaide Bird into that. If you see Adelaide Bird on the judges thing, run and bet as much money, put your mortgage on Canelo to win that fight because it's a sure thing. I'd be also curious to see who's refereeing that fight. I think that makes a big difference in that Billy Joe Saunders fight. But yeah, I agree with you. You're the expert. I just don't see Billy Joe Saunders. Does he catch him? Maybe. Yeah. But he can't win a decision because they've already said that they're going to have Canelo Triple G3. And if he comes off a loss on a decision, they're going to lose money on it. So Billy Joe Saunders got to knock him out to win. That's what it is.
Yeah, kind of.
All right, Richie, that was our Filthy Fan Question of the Week. That's our first show. How you feel?
I want to keep going.
He wants to keep going. I like that. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us, and make sure you subscribe to Raider Live, where we have this on. We're going to actually start a Twitter page for this show, Brews and Boxing. So make sure you check that out, and that's where you can put your questions to Filthy Rich for the Filthy Fan Question of the Week. He's going to choose one question to answer each week. We're going to film the show every Wednesday. It'll probably be up on Thursdays if you're watching this on Thursday, because it takes me a day to edit and everything and get going. But we're going to film everything on Wednesday. It'll come out on every Thursday. And do you have anything else to add there, Filthy Rich?
I've got plenty to add, but so little time. Everything I'll add, we'll add next week.
All right, well, I had a great time here with you, Rich. Great first show, and I'm looking forward to next week.
Yeah, again, thanks for doing this. This was awesome.
No problem, man. Thanks for hanging out. And everyone stay safe and stay healthy out there. Please don't leave your house. Stay inside. Let this quarantine thing run its course. so we can all be healthy and meet at the bars and watch boxing. I'm Raider Live for Filthy Rich. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next week.